Now, let's move on to serious things. And Ukraine. Well, Ukraine, of course, is still a dreadful war with men and women being slaughtered on the battlefield. But as far as the BBC is concerned, the bloodshed isn't going in the right direction. So I'd just like to point out to you that Ukraine has now slipped to the 6th place in the BBC's priorities. It was, of course, right up at the top. But now, oh dear, the Ukrainians are fighting, but they're losing. So the BBC's dropped them down the scale. Now, I thought what I would do here is just show you some of the clips of the brutality of the fighting and the rise of drones. So we've got a picture here of a vehicle trying ultimately to hide in the tree lines. It's remarkable that in 2024 on this major battlefield, we still have troops trying to hide amongst the foliage of the trees. But of course, the drones are hunting them out on both sides. And this is particularly brutal. Here's a drone strike, and you can see the sheer power of it. This is another image. In this case, it's a vehicle getting hit by a very accurate artillery shell. And of course, men dying as we watch that video. This shot from a drone gives us some idea of the bombing, the scale of the bombing in defended positions. So you can see big hits by the Russian guided bombs to the left of your picture. But also you can see the countryside, which is a mix of these open fields, residential areas, low rise, and the tree lines. Here we've got another shot of the sheer power of the munitions which the Russians are now using, extremely accurate. So these are taking out strongholds of the Ukrainians within the low-rise areas of villages. And this one gives us an idea of what happens when an attack goes in on one of the so-called strongholds, which is high-rise buildings that the Ukrainians are usually using as some form of defensive position. And I have another shot here of immense power as weapons are dropped along a tree line. And you might be astonished to know that that short tree line formed one of the major Ukrainian defensive positions to the north of the country and was fought over viciously for several days as the Russians tried to move south towards Kharkov. So there we are. But this one really is it's terrible to watch. This is a drone actually hunting one individual Russian soldier. This is happening on both sides of the line. He's firing it with a purpose-built battlefield shotgun, effectively, but eventually he runs. And in this particular instance, this man survives, as you'll see when he gets up on the shadow on the ground. But this is the reality of the West's support to the Ukraine war, allowing individuals to hunt other human beings. It's truly disgusting. And this one is a very sad clip. It's been heavily censored, I'm pleased to say, before it was put out on social media. But this is the Russians finding that the cellars of many buildings in these areas are simply full of Ukrainian dead. So that is the background to this horrific war. If we stop the weapons to Ukraine, the war would stop overnight, but that's not the West's plan. The West's plan is to increase the bloodshed. Let's have a listen to Boris Johnson speaking to the Azov Brigade.
Thank you to the heroes from the Azov Brigade who warned us about their presence tonight. Give the Ukrainians what they need. Give them the weapons, give them the authorization to use those weapons outside their own borders if necessary. Now, absolutely ludicrous that Ukrainians should be forbidden from doing what Putin is doing himself and attacking Ukrainian forces. Why on earth shouldn't Ukrainians be able to attack Russian forces mustering on their borders? Give them those weapons, give them the attackers, give them the budget, give them the air defences that they need. It's the single best investment that we can make in the defence of the whole Euro-Atlantic area, is supporting Ukrainian heroes. We rely wholly on heroes such as the people who are here tonight with us from the Azov Brigade.
So, Ben, some of this is just difficult to describe because, of course, he's talking to the very brigade that BBC was describing as Nazi a few years ago. And what does he want? He wants to ramp up the war. Well, where's it heading? Let's have a look at some of the headlines being reported because, of course, we've got Joe Biden himself saying, yes, American weapons should be available for attacks within Russian territory. We've got this report here by De Welt. Germany says Ukraine can use its weapons to strike Russian territory. Italy says no, so some dissent, but the overall war hawks are pushing for more war in Ukraine. NATO is certainly pushing for more weapons and weapons to be used to attack Russia. Sweden jumping in as a relatively small country, I beg your pardon, to say use the weapons. David Cameron, of course, a war hawk from many weeks ago when he was caught saying that, yes, we should be attacking Russian soil directly. And then, of course, the Times here starting to ask the key question, will Putin go nuclear if Western weapons hit targets in Russia? I think that's extremely unlikely because at the end of the day, nobody knows the result of a major nuclear war. Nevertheless, it appears to me that Russia is consistently being goaded by the West, and this is going to lead to problems. Now, something that happened a few days ago, Mike did comment on it in the UK column news, but I just want to repeat what was happening, and this was the fact that Ukraine had used drones to attack the Russian early warning system. And the early warning system, of course, is to provide Russia with warning of a potential nuclear attack. If you destroy this system and Russia is blind, then Russia must assume that the next thing that will happen is a nuclear attack on Russian soil. But here we are with the West clearly helping the Ukrainians to undertake this very, very dangerous form of attack on Russia. Bloomberg here saying Ukraine claims a second hit on Russian missile early warning radar. The distance here is important, 1,120 miles east of Ukraine itself. And in my opinion, this can only happen with the full support of the West. And the Kiev Post here really not reporting the reality of what's going on. It's talking about US Air Force Global Hawk drones. And it says sea drones strike sinking Russian warships watched by Global Hawk. Well, of course, the Hawk wasn't just watching, it was doing all sorts of things because these machines are sucking in all sorts of information from video, from signals intelligence, from radar, electronic warfare. These are effectively a battlefield in the sky. So what was happening? Ukraine did manage to sink two very small Russian boats by using sea drones. But here we've got in red at the bottom of your screen, the main track of the American drones. And of course, this would undoubtedly have been providing Ukraine with the targeting. So if we sum a bit of this up very quickly, US, UK, NATO are providing the intelligence, the signals intelligence, the satellite area and localized battlefield surveillance, command and control, communications, electronic warfare and targeting. This is not just being done by Ukraine, that's a nonsense. The US, the UK and NATO are pumping in the weapons and the munitions. They are also using the Ukrainian, in inverted commas, Russian war as a live testing ground for current and future weapons and systems, so very cruel and cynical. And at the end of the day, it's left to Ukraine to provide those troops who are literally cannon fodder for those immense explosions that you've seen in the video. And where are the deaths? We think somewhere between 400,000 and 500,000 on the Ukrainian side. But of course, nobody in the West is reporting that. So